Hey, it's Rich Rosen, founder and CEO of Fastcall, and I'm going to talk about our uh, call data model. So Fastcall introduced what we would say is a new data model starting in our 4.0 release. It's now October 2017, and our most up-to-date release is 4.4. So a couple of releases ago, we released our data model. It's something we've been working on for quite some time. Fastcall, from the time that we launched up until this 4.0 release, we created a task, a Salesforce task for each phone call, and we still do give that option. As far as I know, all applications in this category create a task for phone call, and that's really the native way that Salesforce deals with calls. But as we know, the Salesforce task logs calls. Today, more than ever, uh, emails are all synced into Salesforce. There may also be events. So the Salesforce task has become a very crowded object, and it has become increasingly difficult to manage, identify, report calls, particularly as a separate activity away from emails and other tasks. So we started to introduce our call data model. And we also did so for a few other reasons. The Salesforce task has a hard limit in the number of fields at 100. So you cannot pay for more fields on task. Salesforce gives you 100 fields on task. It's actually one of the few objects, maybe the only object, that does have a hard limit for fields. And we had over 20 custom fields and tasks, which we felt was sort of more than our fair share of custom fields on task. And when the need came up to add more custom fields around call logging, we just didn't feel like we could continue to add custom fields on task. So to that point, and I'll show you in a few minutes, we did delete some fields on task, which means you can delete those fields in Salesforce once a partner, and this is actually kind of new, but a partner now can delete a field in our package, which allows the subscriber to delete the field after the package is installed. We can't delete something from your installed package, but we can allow the field to be deleted. So right now we're looking at, I'm actually in console, and I have a related list for calls here in the left panel. I actually have a report of calls in the right panel. Probably not two screens you would generally need to have together, but I just have them here. So calls is our new data object. You can create a related list. There is a new object. There's actually 4 new objects in the package. Calls, I'll go over in a minute. Calls, connections, connection attempts, and voicemail. But you can create um, a view of your calls, and you can look at them this way. So here's a view of calls. I'm going to click in on the call object, and you'll see that the call object really will have a one-to-one relationship to tasks. Our intention was to start, you can continue to use task and not use calls at all. We are still creating tasks, and I'll show you how that's managed in a minute. But our intention was that this new object for calls, custom object, will have a one-to-one relationship to tasks. So there's a unique ID of the call, that this type happened to have been inbound, the start time, the end time. This is new. We're now reporting the wait times. This is actually something that you're now going to see on the call object, but not on the Salesforce task. It's the wait time, um, the connection duration, and the total call duration. Um, the phone number, this is actually also somewhat new. The phone number has a lookup to the phone, because this was an inbound call, the phone that was called, and since I'm in console, I can click on this, it'll take me to, so this is actually the phone number that was dialed, so that's actually new. So we can see that the phone number that was dialed is an ACD number that I've named Google Call Tracking. So that's actually new, that the inbound call now has a lookup to the phone number. Um, the to number is the number that was dialed, which is also, of course, related to the phone number, the caller ID of the person who called. Now there's also a new object for connection, and how this works is a call can have multiple connections. So if this was an ACD call, if there were multiple users that were that we dialed on that ACD, we'd see multiple connections. So calls have connections. So I can click on here and I can see the connection. This connection shows as missed. Again, the wait time. And then inside of this connection, you see, it's a good example, there are 2 connection attempts. So the ACD call came in, we made a connection, and then we made 2 attempts. This was position 1 of 1 in the ACD. This is position 2 in the ACD. Both of those happen to have been no answer. The user. So the lookup to the user is now on a connection attempt. So the idea is that there is attempts, connections, calls. You can see here we did still create a task. So this says fast call inbound call missed. So there is still the native object for tasks. There was no voicemail. This is also a custom object for voicemail. So there's the 4 custom objects. There is a link I mentioned before on call. There's a link to the phone number. On the connection, there is a link to the IVR that was used. In this case, the IVR was a transfer, so it's telling us the call came in, we executed this IVR, which is a transfer, and then we made 2 attempts. Okay, so those are the 4 objects. I did mention this is the Salesforce Task. Might as well take a look at it. So this is what we've always seen before. The one difference here is there's a new field called call log, and that call log has a lookup to the connection. You would add this to your page layout. So if this is, I'm looking at the Salesforce Task with my subject, the to and from numbers, the status, everything that I see on the Salesforce Task. Of course, your page layout would be customized. There is now the optional lookup to the connection. Everything else here looks pretty similar. So I did mention this is, and I'm just going to pop back over since I kind of dove into this. There is a report. Where did that go? I think that's here. Nope. Where did my report go? No, where did that report go? Report, where did you go? Oh, here we go. Calls with connections. Okay, so here's the report. I'm going to ditch this window. Wrong. Where are you? There we go. In console, you can, if you didn't know that you could, oops, I can make the window go away. So now I am in console. PS, Salesforce would say that they don't support reports in console, but I use them all the time. So this is actually a report, and I happen to be in console, which I like. So this is a report of calls with connections and connection attempts. So essentially this is giving you, should give you everything that you need, and you of course would customize this report as necessary. So outbound calls, inbound, call recording, or possibly a voicemail, depending upon whether this was inbound or outbound. My call subject, my durations, my wait times, my notes, everything that you are used to seeing on a Salesforce task is now here on our custom objects. And so again, some of the benefits of the custom object is there's no competition for any of these fields. We don't have to compete. We can use up as many custom fields as we want on this object because it's our custom object. We don't have to feel like we're using too many. So and the same thing goes true with triggers or workflows or process. You're just less likely to run into the potential conflict of 2 processes running against task because this is a custom object. So we shouldn't be competing with any other applications or any other custom processes as we could potentially, as is potential on the native task object. Okay, so let me pop back over. I'm actually going to reveal that pane again, and I'm going to come over. I'm going to go into Fastcall Settings. You can do this in console or classic or lightning for that matter, but these are settings. In console, they kind of format a little differently, but settings, well, I'm going to look at under call logging. There they are. It doesn't really matter if I'm still in console, but I'm going to go under settings, under call logging. So all this is the same as it's always been, call results, subject, but tasks is actually a little different now. We now have the option to create tasks, and I have this set on. But if I set this to off, we would not create tasks. We would only create those custom objects. And just so you know, we create the call first, the call, connection, connection attempt, and voicemail first, and then we're creating the task off of that. So the parent or the parent record is our now custom object. Create task for completed calls. You don't have to select that if you don't want to. If I do, you can see if I took the, if I'm not creating tasks, all those options go away. Create tasks for missed calls. If you want to create tasks for missed calls, it'll show up as an open activity, so they're um, in your to-do list. Create tasks to fix wrong numbers. This is also kind of new. Basically, just the idea is that if you dial a wrong number, we can create a task that says you can fix the number. Create tasks for voicemails. So that's all managed in here. Fields, we've always used, we just moved it. The option to display follow-up, to create a follow-up call, and the widget is here. Again, we've had that for a while, we just moved it, but these are task pick lists, which we've always had, but since we're now listing the options for tasks, it's here in task status. Is here. I think the SMS task status may be new. Okay, so these are some task settings that are new in the application. I did mention, and right before I finish up, I know it's been a couple of minutes now, but I do just want to show you, and actually I guess this would actually be in activities. The custom fields on task are listed under activities, activity custom fields. So inside the package, these are activity custom fields. Again, there is a, it says right here, you can create up to 100 activity custom fields, and that's it. You can't buy more. And we were using, you can even still see in the package, I think there's 22, 24. I'm not going to even say that there's more, but we were using a lot of fields, so it was sort of time to not use so many. But you will see that in a few of these cases, you're now going to see the option to delete. So as we delete a field from the package, on a new install, this would not show up because it's been deleted from the package. But on an existing install, when you're updating, the field does still exist. Salesforce doesn't let us delete a field because you could be using it, but you can delete it now. And you'll see here, this is just a custom field that we created ourselves, which of course I could delete. So there's probably only a few here. I think I've probably deleted a few already. So these two can be deleted. These were actually just some examples. This one can be deleted. This one can be deleted. So no. So this was an example of a custom pick list that we were using just as an example. It can be deleted now. Some Twilio information, which now can be deleted. So if you are running low on custom fields and tasks, and you want to get rid of a few things, we're now sort of letting you delete a couple of those fields inside the package. Okay, so hopefully this was helpful. The data object has a new report. You can create a calls. You can create a list view with calls. You can also, actually, it's one thing I didn't talk about, which might be for sure worth mentioning. As a matter of fact, so let me pop over. I'm going to get rid of this window again. So here I am, I'm back in that report, and I want to go through and I'm going to look at my connection. So, and I'm going to just navigate back to a record. So here is a lead record, and there are calls on this record, you can see here, and then tasks. So you've probably always had to look up to tasks, that's native, so you've always had to look up to tasks on your lead object. If you do now want to see, and there's a lot, and part of what we were really trying to do here is, and even in my own org, we still do have SMS and calls, and there's emails. This is a test record, so probably not as many emails, but normally there would be in my production org. I know there's a lot of emails, a bunch of open tasks. But now by putting these in calls, you can see even in that case, it's only calls. We didn't actually move SMS to this custom object. SMS is still only creating a task. So here we are. So I created a lookup between calls and the object so that I could have this related list, and then I customized the page so that I could add that related list. And we explain how to do that on our website, but here is under the related list on the object, I was able to add calls just like I would tasks to the object, to accounts, to contacts, to leads. Okay, so I wanted to go over that. So hopefully this was helpful. We do have some more information on the website, and if you do still want to ask any follow-up questions, of course, email us support@fastcall.com. Thank you for watching the video, and hopefully you have a chance to check out the new object for calls. Bye.